So, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Principal Jensen.
Okay. And I see Anne's already got her hand up. I love it. Ask questions. Go ahead. You're muted, Anne.
Okay, unmuted. Sorry, I'm friends with Jamie Rufinock from the neighborhood. And I know that Neil has Allison and Ada has Roki. Would it be possible for me to alternate, or should I do one kid for 2 months and the next kid for 2 months, or how would you prefer?
Okay, so let's start by talking about kind of the brain
Okay,
of what
sorry.
we're thinking. No, you're right on track though, because that is what we want to know, Anne. We do want to know preferences and we want to make good matches. So that was one of the purposes of Reverend Allen's questionnaire survey, to know like your availability, because what I'm envisioning is that we have these reading buddies coming in during guided reading time. And the purpose that I choose guided reading time is that the kids have time with their teacher, and then they have small group time where they're doing stations and activities independently. Well, as you can probably guess, some of our friends are not overly effective in independent work time, and they would get a lot out of spending time with an adult, getting that one-on-one attention, whether it be reading to the adult or the adult reading to the kid. Both ways are super effective for supporting the growth of a child's reading. So my idea was that once a week, in place of their station time, they would spend that time with their reading buddy. And that is, I think, a safe amount of instruction that we can sacrifice for this purpose. I would not take away from whole group instruction for various reasons. That's something that all kids need to hear. But if they're not involved in their direct instruction of the teacher, they're involved in independent time, that's a time where I feel like we could sacrifice the station activity, or even assign the reading buddy to do the station activity with the kid. So I'm going to leave it up to teachers when we develop these matches to tell us, how do you want the time spent? Is it best to have the kiddo reading to the adult? Is it best to have the adult read to the kid? Do you have an activity that the student and volunteer can do together? But you know, our teachers are experts and they know what would be most effective with each kid. So when we do start to line up the matches, and Anne, I totally think we can get you lined up, but here's my thought. Once a week is not terribly a lot of time, 30 minutes once a week. And I love consistency. I think kids do best when we have a consistent schedule and they know they can count on their friend, their reading buddy coming. My experience in the past has been Lunch Buddies, which is just an awesome program run through the bridge. And they have really dedicated to, you make sure you're there. And if not, you've got to let that kiddo know ahead of time, because believe it or not, the kids really look forward to seeing you. And it's hard with some of our youngsters who deal with being let down in their personal lives, that we try to not have that happen at school. And so Reverend Allen's even making contingency plans for if a volunteer needs to miss, having substitutes available. So it wouldn't be the same thing, but the kiddo would get somebody, which when I articulated that concern and the tears that sometimes flow when my buddy doesn't come, she said, well, what if some of our volunteers wants to just be a sub because they can't commit to every week? And I thought, brilliant. That's a great strategy for kids. So, Anne, honestly, I would say let's pick one to start with.
I've wondered about that, yeah.
And we could get somebody else matched up with the other, like there, we'll just have to see. But I am also going to look at need. And so when a teacher says, I've got a kid that is a high need, I want to do that match, because one of the other goals of this group, and again, Reverend Allen articulating this so nicely was that during the pandemic, our kids were in and out of school in that remote setting. And we all know that a lot of kids do not live in literacy rich homes. We know that. So when they're not at school, their access to reading materials is limited, and we would get stuff out to them, but were they getting read?
Yeah.
So reading really has been impacted by the pandemic. And so one of the overarching goals of this group is how can we supplement and add to what's happening in the schools to support that need that kids are trying to get caught back up and get extra to move forward. So we do want to look at students with need. Having said that, I am not going to match you with students with severe behavioral issues. You're not going to be asked to tackle that. And heaven help us, if it's a bad match, we'll make a change. That's perfectly fine. But I will tell you this. I have amazing children at Meadows.
Yes.
And truthfully, they all seek adult attention. Even the ones with the most behavioral needs, when they get one-on-one adult attention, you wouldn't know there was a problem. They just thrive in that one-on-one. And it's such a challenge to us because you've got that one classroom teacher and maybe a para coming through, and they're trying to serve the needs of 20 plus kiddos in their room. And it's just such a challenge. So this is just a wonderful opportunity for us to support children, number one. Number two, teachers. And our teachers are working so hard that to have your support will definitely make a difference. So I gave you just kind of a little snippet there about our brainchild, our dream for this program. But honestly, I am also working on developing a resource to give to each volunteer, which is good practice when reading with a child. For example, whether it's the adult reading or the student reading, we can do some things to support that comprehension-wise. So talking to the child about what they're reading. What's this story about? Who are the main characters? What is the setting? Some very basic questions, but if you haven't been a teacher, they may not come to the top of your head. So I'm going to have kind of a little, cheat sheet, checklist, bookmark style that you can have with you to just kind of jumpstart the conversation with the student. To give you just some ideas. And some of you have done plenty of teaching and don't need it, and I get that. But it's nice to have a resource while you're working with kids. And so my title reading teacher, who is an absolute doll, said, "Oh, I've got stuff for that, Nicole. Don't make up anything new. We've got it." And so she's going to get that all prepared for me. So when you come, you'll check into the office. We're going to create badges for each of you that indicate you're a reading buddy. You'll report to the classroom. Our teachers are going to either have a space in the classroom identified or just right outside of the classroom. We have pods at Meadows. If you've never been in our building, we have a beautiful setup that allows for some open space that will be available for kiddos that might be a little less distracting to be in that pod area. My teachers will always leave their door open and be right there in earshot. Should you need support, should there be a question, should there be a need, there will be an adult right there. So you're not going to be left alone with a kid. And that's best practice. No one should be isolated or off by themselves with a student. Opens up too many possibilities for problems. So those are kind of our locations that we'll work on. Of course, we're going to ask at this time, everyone wears a mask at all times when working with children. We also ask that you practice some distancing, a minimum of 3 feet, a minimum. So that can be kind of challenging, and because my friends are lovers. They are huggy, sweet children, and they're going to try and climb up in your lap. So you may have to tell them, no, you're going to sit over here. We'll be close, but we're not going to be shoulder to shoulder or hip to hip. And that, like I say, can be a challenge. If you need chairs and tables, sitting on the floor is hard for some of us. Our knees and our hips don't agree with on the floor. Agreed. We have that available, and that's in the pods and in the classrooms. So we'll make sure that you're comfortable. And if for some reason you don't have it, just ask. I will make it happen, whatever you need. Okay, I'm going to masking, some distancing. I also want to talk just briefly about, and I'm not trying to drag this training out too long, so I'm going to kind of go over everything quickly, leave time for questions. Probably can't answer every possible situation, but I'm going to hit a couple. Sometimes when you get to know a kiddo, they start to reveal their life situation. And so they might start to divulge some personal information. What I would encourage you to do is limit that. I love that kids want to share, but that can create some uncomfortable situations for you. So I would encourage you to say, oh, let's just talk about the book. Let's focus on that. But if they are developing a relationship with you and start to give you things that make you uncomfortable, like my mom got hurt last night by my mom's boyfriend, something that would concern you, I want you to go immediately to the teacher and or to the office and make a report to us, whether it's myself, my assistant principal, my counselors, or the teacher. And it may be a situation we're already aware of and we're already addressing. Of course, it could be one we're not. And if it is a child that might be in danger or there's a concern, we need to take action as a school staff to file a report with the DCF agency so that they can follow up an interview. What I do not want you to ever do is begin to pry or investigate. I don't even do that. I let kids share information with me, but I don't try to dig in because I'm not a trained investigator, and you could sway a child to answer a certain way or feel a certain way about a situation. And that's something we leave to the trained professionals of DCF. That's their role. It's not ours. So that can come up. And I definitely wanted to make sure I addressed that today. Our kids are just, they're pretty friendly little guys. And when they feel comfortable, sometimes things come out that will be maybe shocking or concerning. And I want you to know, bring that right to the attention of the teacher and or my staff, counselors, myself, whatever, and we'll address it. You won't be required to do anything more than that unless you would feel compelled. Of course, I cannot tell any individual they can't make a DCF report. That's not how it works. Anybody can make one. But as an educator, I'm a mandated reporter, and my staff that work in this building are mandated reporters. And so when they hear something concerning, they need to file a report. So that does take a little bit of that pressure off of you in working with kids. Okay, I feel like I've really rambled, and I really enjoy conversation style versus me yakking a lot. So are there questions that are coming to mind that I haven't touched on, or what I've touched on, I haven't gone deep enough? Marilyn, I see your hand up.
Will the school provide the books, or do we need to do that?
We will absolutely provide you with resources. Now, if you're like me, I've got a handful of favorite picture books, and my girls are too old to read them with me anymore. So I haul them in, and especially around the holidays. Like, I just love holiday picture books. You're welcome to bring in books. You are, but do not feel pressure. That is something that I'm going to ask the teachers to have prepared for you. And like I say, it could just be the activity they would have normally done without you, but we'll have resources. So yeah, thank you for that question. Reverend Allen, I saw you had a question.
Oddly, it was the same exact question as Marilyn's.
Clearly something should have been on my list to address then. Okay. Okay, Mary?
Yeah, I joined just a smidgen late, so I don't know if I missed this, but what age group are we talking about?
Well, we want to match the student to your preference. And so at Meadows, we actually serve pre-K through 5th grade, but my pre-K is kind of a special group of kiddos. They have a lot of developmental needs. It's a special education program, so I'm not going to include them at this time. Could be potential down the road that we might. But right now, I want to focus on kindergarten through 5th grade. And like all of you, I too have preferences. And so we want to make sure this is the best possible experience for you and the kiddo. So I want you to share, and I believe, Reverend Allen, that's part of your survey that you are asking volunteers to fill out. That will guide us in making a good match along with your availability.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. Good question. Any other questions? Ethel Edwards, if you don't quiz me hard, I won't think you're here. So are you?
I'm here, Nicole, and you're
Hi,
fine.
friend. You usually ask me the hard questions.
I know, but I don't have any today.
Well, I feel like I've done an excellent presentation then, Ethel.
Yes, you have.
Thanks.
I do have one other question as I go through things that people have sent me.
Yes,
How long should people plan on it taking to check in and kind of get in so that they can be there at the right time?
great question. Awesome. It's really going to be pretty fast. Now, you know, we're secure campus. So like you do buzz in and have to be recognized by the secretaries. They're going to probably say, can I help you? They're not going to just buzz you in and you can just say, I'm here with the reading buddies. I'm a volunteer. That will direct you into the office, not to the building. You come in, you sign in, you get your visitor's badge, and you're right off. So honestly, 3-4 minutes. We do have a nice parking lot up front of the building in our Circle Drive, and people that are familiar with Meadows know what I'm talking about. And if you're not familiar, the whole building looks like it's got an entrance. Everywhere you look, there's a door. But there's a Circle Drive right off of our playground attached to a parking lot. And that's going to be your best bet to park there. And that's where the front door, there's kind of a canopy that's over the front door. And that's the only place you can ring a bell and get access to come in. So you're going to be looking for the Circle Drive and parking lot and the canopy over the main front door. That's probably important. If you've never been here, like I say, it can be confusing. There's a lot of doors. Nancy, did you have a question?
Yes, I was wondering, is there a start date set or when we're going to?
Well, it's as fast as Reverend Allen and I can get this all pulled off. We'd love to start sooner rather than later, but there's some logistics. So we don't have a firm one yet, do we, Reverend Allen?
No, our biggest barrier is actually the background check. Speaking of which, we're having increasing problems. When I did mine, when I submitted it, it said, you know, this is not a recognized institution or something like that. But then it said it was okay, and I ended up getting cleared. But today, when Anne tried to get on this system, she couldn't get into the system at all. It said it was an unrecognized institution or unrecognized program name or something. So.
Okay, so I'm going to do a follow. Thank you for that. I'll follow up with my district office because due to COVID restrictions, we are not allowing just individual volunteers.
Yeah.
We are allowing established groups of volunteers to participate because, you know, we want to ensure that all of the precautions are in place, particularly for our unvaccinated, you know, younger children that we have. And so they maybe have not added reading buddies.
Yeah,
to
so
that
yeah,
list.
there's a new link that we need. Have them get that to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will reach out and make sure that that is possible. Yeah, we got a little bit of a wiggle room through that door because of the overarching group that I serve on the board with is called Midtown Community Services Board. And so that group of various churches have come together to spearhead this program for me. And because they're an established group that partner with Meadows, that's how we're getting to bring this group in of volunteers. Little slide, we're trying our best. We lost our lunch buddy program through the bridge, and that was a major loss to us. We just can't allow adults to come be with kids when they are unmasked. And of course, they're unmasked when they're eating. So until that requirement is lifted, I don't have my lunch buddy mentoring program. And we're feeling like we just have this hole, this gap. And so that this is kind of our attempt at not only filling that gap, but then reaching for the let's pump up reading for our kids. So that's kind of what's going on. And I wonder if that's playing into the background check. I don't know, but I will certainly reach out and find out. Dr. Gray and his office spearhead that. So I will follow up with him today. Thank you for that.
Great. For those of you who are going through that process, I was surprised it only took about 10 days once I had it submitted for me to have my little card in my hand. So I was just starting to look for it in the mail when it came. So
I received an email today that it's in progress.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. Diana, I see you've got your hand up.
I have received my card, but my question was, in case it did happen, see, I've got my card.
There you are.
Like she said, she had received an email. Well, I had received notification that I had been approved. And then I had actually called 501 and they said I was approved too, but then I didn't actually receive this card in the mail till a few days later. So my question is, actually it was more than a few days. Do you need the card before you actually can come in? Or
no, great question.
Enough? Okay.
Right, great question. I have access to the list of approved volunteers. And so if there's someone that doesn't have their card, we can just double check it. And they actually are dividing them up by school. And so even if I don't see, Diana, you on there for Meadows, I can go to the other school pages and look and see if you're approved for another school as well. So yes, I can dig that information out if you don't have the card, not to worry. Marilyn?
I have a really basic question. Where is Meadows?
Great question. We are at 201 Southwest Clay, and that is just to the north of like St. Francis and a little bit east.
Okay.
So we're really, yeah, we take up a block, but we're back in the neighborhood. So you're not going to see us from a main road. You got to get back to 3rd, and we border up 3rd and 2nd. Okay. And Clay is a somewhat, known street, but we're just not far from the hospital at all. And my neighborhood.
Marilyn,
Marilyn,
we live on Greenwood in Potwin.
Yes.
And Meadows is straight east about 3 blocks.
Okay.
Between 2nd and 3rd. And I was going to say earlier, it's a little deceptive, Nicole. Is it still the one way off Clay?
Okay.
I know you come in off 2nd.
2nd is a 2-way street, but you can't get all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a little meandering that you have to do to get there. And we do have one-ways over towards 3rd and 4th, or 4th and 5th.
But you have to get to the front of the school, you have to come in off Clay.
Off Clay.
Yeah, but the front of the school is not on Clay.
No.
But that's, trust me, if you come in the driveway off Clay between 2nd and 3rd, you're set.
That's it.
We had 3 granddaughters that went happily through Meadows, and under most all of them under Nicole's marvelous tutelage.
Thank you, Ann. And we have benefited from the Palmer clan being a part of our Meadows clan for years. I
really miss it.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
Okay.
We do have wonderful families that have just, they've just kind of sunken their teeth into the school, and they don't necessarily leave. They come back and participate. And we have built up a beautiful community over here, which is why this is happening. The churches have just embraced us. It's and the group under Midtown Community Services Board is Westside Christian, Westside Baptist, Potwin Presbyterian, and now we've got Grace Episcopal really coming into the fold with our team, which was just a kind of a fluke that I just got roped into something with them, and I roped them right back into something with me, which is what I'll do to you, friends. If you start in over here, be prepared. I'll drag you into things. So.
You all may be helping us catch butterflies in the spring and fall, so.
We got big plans, don't we, Reverend?
We do.
But honestly, the partnerships in the community is what makes Meadows a very special place. And families are very invested, and staff very invested. Our partners are very invested. We are very much a family, and you'll feel that atmosphere when you're here. And then what I would ask in return is when you're out in the public, you share that our public schools are good and safe, positive places for children, because we do not always get the recognition in the newspaper or the media for that. Unfortunately, a negative situation gets a lot of attention, and those are really few and far between, but they attract a lot of attention, and people have the wrong idea. And so one of the best things that we can do for our schools is to have people in the building to see, no, that's a great place for kids. That what you may think, is maybe not accurate. It's a great place for kids. Are there other questions today that I can answer? Okay, well, I am just really excited about that. Oh, Marvin, you unmuted. Do you have a question?
I just unmuted to say thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I'm just really excited. Like this, my kids need adults. They need positive, caring adults. And that some of them have great resources at home, and some of them have very little for a whole lot of reasons that are not anyone's fault. Parents are doing the best they can. And so our kids need caring adults, and our teachers are stretched so thin. So having an extra set of hands goes such a long way. And I cannot thank you enough for being willing to be a part of this. And during a pandemic, where some people have been very nervous about being around children, I just am very grateful that there are folks that still want to be a part of children and schools and support us in the work we do. By the way, my kids have been super healthy. Like, they're doing great. We're not seeing outbreaks and things. Really, you guys, this has been a healthy, wonderful school year so far. So I'm really hopeful we get through cold and flu season the same, but we're doing great. So please don't be worried about that. We got hand sanitizer everywhere. You can bathe in it if you like. I've got lots of it.
Okay, so for next steps, you guys, I've got all of you listed as trained, or I will shortly. I've given up multitasking for forever. But once you have, if you've received the email saying that you're approved, just go ahead and forward that to me so that I can have it for our records. Or if you have your card, you can take a picture of it and email that to me, or scan it and email it to me. And then I'm updating the list today to send to Nicole, because 10 of you have completed the survey, so that's great. So once you have your background check, the survey completed, and you don't have to worry about completing training, you've done that, I will mark that as ready to schedule for Nicole, and then we'll start figuring that out. Okay. I know these kids, the sooner we can get in and start working with them, the better off we are. We need to be doing that. So, and until I have a core of kind of subs, I love all ages, and I can probably make most times work. So I will also try to kind of back you guys up. And is there anything else? Let me know if you have questions. And I think that's it, isn't it, Nicole?
I think so too. And I did meet with my faculty earlier in the week and told them this was coming. And so they're going to be eager to get you scheduled. And what I'm just going to do is say, here's the time, who's got guided reading at this time and has a kid that could benefit, and we'll start getting those matches to happen. And I think it should go quickly. I know that the teachers are just always so happy to have someone, especially for a kid who's in need. So this is going to be really exciting and very well received.
Yes, and thank you all for your willingness to help out.
Thank you.
Right, call if you have